Twins fall flat in game one versus St. Louis. Final score 6-1. We're breaking it all down next on the Locked On Twins postcast.
You are Locked On Twins postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up? What's up? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Minnesota Twins postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. You got myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. That's the man. He's back. Sweet Lou Hennessy, Twins expert over at Zone Coverage MN. Give him a follow on X, won't you? At Sweet Lou MN. And Lou, before we jump into all the action from tonight's game, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use code, this is all lowercase, LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Okay, so game 1 of 9 in a row at home in the backyard at Target Field. Finally got a day off last night, which I know was, sorely needed to say the least. Cardinals in town now for 3 in a row tonight. Twins score first. They make it 1-0. Pretty much all downhill from there. Festa on the mound. He was pretty meh, to say the least. Not his best tonight. He got through 3 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs, 3-1 in the 6th. Donovan homers off Alcala. That makes it 4-1. Trevor Richard gives up 2 more. That makes it 6-1. And just that offensive explosion we saw in San Diego Wednesday, kind of nowhere to be found. Twins 1 through 4 hitters tonight when it combined 1 for 14, 6 left on base tonight, 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. So 6-1 is your final score. Cleveland lost. It's the only good news tonight. Division lead stays at 2. Lou, biggest takeaways, just kind of your A topics from this one. Then we'll talk a little bit more about Festa next as well.
Like you said, I think they were really looking forward to a day off yesterday after playing, 14 games in their last 13 days. It's a grind, and they played some pretty competitive teams in that time. So we're hoping for them to come out a little more refreshed maybe for tonight's game. And unfortunately, they just seemed to fall flat basically from the get-go. There was, not a whole lot of energy on the field. You could see it in their body language in that tough inning when Richards loaded the bases a couple times there. I think Chris Atterbury on the broadcast said the only pop they got from the crowd tonight was when they played Mr. Brightside. So that's never a good sign when you need the killers to lift you up out of that lull. So tough one tonight for sure.
David Festa, 3 2/3 inning, 3 hits, 3 earned, 2 walks, 5 Ks, 75 pitches. I know the quote unquote Mendoza line for these young pitchers, right? These young pups is just get 5 innings. Can you get to 5 innings? That's kind of the hope every night with these young guns. Not the case for Festa though. I guess, what'd you think of his stuff tonight? And also just big picture, what do you think of him now that we're getting a little bit bigger sample size?
Like you said, maybe not his best work tonight. He's thrown some pretty competitive starts out there lately, but tonight he just he couldn't get through that 4th inning there. I think there's still a lot to be encouraged by the strikes that he was able to get. He looked pretty good the first time through the order, as he almost always does. Yeah. That's one of his calling cards. So we saw that again tonight, and then the second time through, they really started biting on him, and they just couldn't stop the bleeding in time.
The Athletic, don't know if you saw this. They just dropped a pretty cool piece. It's titled 5 recently debuted starting pitchers who might be best set up for success. So there's 5 pitchers on this list that made their debut after the All-Star break, and they all have at least 2 starts under their belt. Both Festa and Zebby made this list. So kind of encouraging, I guess, so it feels like, no matter how this season ends, 2024 Twins, they got a nice little core, a nice little nucleus of young pitching they can finally build around. Yeah, we haven't been able to say that in a long time.
Yeah, no, I think fans should really be excited by that too. You're going to see some nights like tonight from guys like Festa. You're going to see some rookie mistakes from some guys, but guess what? They're rookies. That's kind of what you get with the territory here. So it's sometimes you see it in lost seasons when the team at this point of the season, it's pretty clear they're not going to make the postseason. I think it's a valuable experience to get them right now while they're still kind of in the thick of the race, and hopefully they can be key contributors for the rest of the race here.
Per Aaron Gleeman on Twitter tonight, Trevor Richards now has 10 walks, 6 wild pitches, 2 hit batters, and 11 innings of work in a Twins uniform. So, between him, you had the Steven Okert meltdown, which I know you weren't on that night, the Alcala meltdown 2 nights prior.
Yeah.
Where's the panic meter at right now for this bullpen? Because someone has to step up, not named Griffin Jacks or Duran, if they're going to have like any shot in the playoffs, right?
Right. Thank goodness they have the, solid back end of the bullpen there with Duran and with Jax and
Yeah.
even put Cole Sands in that mix at this point. He's shown enough to be, I would say, trusted for the most part. But Alcala, you were hoping was going to join that trio, and we're starting to see him leak oil a little bit with the amount of home runs that he's allowed. And then, like you said, some of those other guys, Okert, Theobar, Richards, it's you kind of grit your teeth every time they're out there, and you hope for the best. But every team's kind of got a soft spot, and I think that side of the bullpen is definitely the Twins' soft underbelly, at least at this point in time right now.
Well, knowing that, then, if you knew that was the weakness and kind of the Achilles heel of this roster, how frustrated should fans be that this front office didn't go grab a guy or two? And Richard shouldn't even count really at this point. And I guess, is there anyone, literally anyone else out there, out in the free agent pool, worth a darn now at this point? Because I feel like they are so thirsty and just desperate for anyone that can just chew up an inning or two late in games.
Yeah, I think in the next week or two, we're going to start seeing teams put guys on waivers that another team can come in and claim, and all they have to do is pay off the rest of their contract, and it kind of goes in reverse order of the standings. So there's going to be a lot of teams that could swoop in and snipe some of these guys from the Twins, so to speak. So it could be an option potentially, but yeah, Trevor Richards as the only acquisition at the deadline is coming back to bite them. And I know nobody's promised that he was going to be some closer, some setup guy. He was going to be basically the last line of defense there, replacing Josh Staumont, who ironically just got released by the Cubs today from his minor league deal. Yeah. So, kind of trading off the last end there. I don't know if they have high hopes. And like I said, when they made the acquisition, I don't know how long the shelf life is going to be on Richards, especially if he keeps pitching like he has tonight.
Who did Houston just pick up? Houston picked up a bit. Hector?
Yep, they picked up Hector Neris.
Were you bummed about that? Were you bummed?
I thought he could be intriguing for sure. We saw him in the playoffs last year. He was kind of a three-headed monster with a couple other guys at the back end of the Houston bullpen. Moved over and signed with the Cubs this year and did not have very encouraging results, but he still has decent numbers against lefties, which is kind of what we were looking for with Richards, even though he's not a lefty himself. So it would have been encouraging, or, it would have been interesting to see for sure if they could have explored that route. But hopefully there'll be others of that ilk that they could come in and welcome to the fold here, because like you said, there's a lot of holes in the back end of this bullpen here.
Is Trevor Bauer a name? Can we even say that name? Is that like a name you fling out and just test the waters? Do you think any team will test the waters with Trevor Bauer at this point, or where's he kind of at on the meter, I guess?
I think he's set out, and I don't think he's ever set to return. I think that we've seen the last of him at the Major League Baseball level.
Okay, fair enough. Short and sweet. What are the vibes of this team then? Because, hell of a season, man. If they don't catch Cleveland, I don't care. 15 or so games above 500. I guess I lost tonight, so I want to say 14 games above 500, but right. Close, hovering around 15 on any given night. What are the vibes? What's like the number one characteristic of this 2024 Minnesota Twins team?
It's hard to say it after a loss like tonight, but I do consider them to be kind of a punchback team. They're even in game. They're the kind of team, I think they lead all of Major League Baseball in being able to come back and score in the inning immediately after getting scored on. Cool. So I put that on there. We've seen them go out and string together 4, 5, 6 series wins in a row at different points of the season. I'm expecting them to punch back here, and I'm hoping it comes back soon. But like I said, it can be kind of hard to say that after a loss like tonight and after a tough series in San Diego. Yeah,
and obviously, again, the one bright spot here, Cleveland. They're leaking oil as well. Sure. How do they catch them? How do they get hot and go on a little run here with this, not so easy schedule, I guess, down the stretch? Is it just getting everybody healthy for these final 4 or 5 weeks here down the stretch, or what do they got to do?
That would be huge. The Twins have 2 to 3 stars on the injured list at any given point this season, and especially right now, they're missing Correa and Buxton. Cleveland doesn't necessarily have that same thump in their lineup that they're expecting to get back at some point. They're expecting some guys like Steven Kwan to rebound, he's been pretty brutal since the All-Star break, I want to say, but he had an excellent first half. So they're hoping for guys like that to bounce back. Twins are hoping to get a return from their, absolutely top of the lineup star studs. And if they can come back and contribute, then hopefully then they can catch up in the race. But for right now, it kind of feels like a snowball fight. And who knows, Kansas City has pushed their way into second place here, and they might not be a joke coming out here.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the playoff picture here in segment 2, but Rocco report time. So game 1 versus St. Louis, the Rocco report, it says what?
I'm sure it was really difficult, and I'm sure there's plenty of angry fans on Twins Twitter. I know it's not like Twins Twitter to get angry at anything.
No, it's not their style. No,
but I'm okay with Rocco letting Richards kind of eat it there in that inning when it was lost. He threw a pitch 20 feet in front of the plate at one point to bring in another run. Like you said, in a game like tonight, somebody's got to eat those innings, and you don't want to. You're going to put John Duran out there when they're down 6 just to finish the inning? No, of course not. So let Richards eat it here, and hopefully he gets his fill and it can come out cleaner next time around.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Checks all those boxes for me as well. I like it. All right, plenty more deep dive from this one. Plus, we got our nerdy stat of the day. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience, the formula for winning championships. Also what keeps your ride or die alive. In eBay Motors, they got everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to the ultimate peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, they got it all. And whether you're into speed, power, or style, they got you covered. 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back with all the parts you need at the prices you want. Easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Okay, quick updated playoff standing / scenario. So let's say the Twins can't catch Cleveland. You mentioned it, Kansas City, still breathing down everybody's neck. You got Boston not far behind. I asked CJ and Theo this, but I'm curious to hear your ideal matchup if they do have to go on the road in round 1. Like, who do they just match up the best against, kind of from, the cliche X's and O's standpoint, if you will?
That's a really good question. I want to say one of the West Coast or the West Division teams here, maybe, but that's a good question. I know the Yankees have scuffled too, and they're really top heavy in their lineup, but at the same time, history tells me I can't root for them to go into Yankee Stadium for a playoff series. I just can't do it. Even if my brain is telling me that's the right choice, the spirit is telling me can't do it.
But you're saying, I mean, you're bringing up a good point here. If we just take out all the, former and old demons, right, going into Yankee Stadium as a Minnesota Twin fan, you're saying this year, though, on paper, they actually don't match up that bad against this New York Yankee team?
I don't have a ton of faith in the rest of the Yankees lineup aside from Judge and Soto, who are incredible and can absolutely have the capacity to beat a team on their own. But besides that, I don't consider them to be a very deep lineup, and their starting rotation has shown to have a few holes as well. At the same time, they'd be a really tough get, but that's kind of what you're going to have in the playoffs. I don't know if there's going to be any easy wins there.
Yeah, you want to be the best. You obviously got to beat some of the best teams along the way anyways. How about this scenario? You end the season with 3 versus Baltimore, and then you go play 3 more with them first round of the playoffs. What do you think about that?
Hey, that could be pretty interesting for some storylines. Who you sit, who you show, who you flash before the games really, really count for you. But I think it's going to be a dogfight all the way till the end. And whoever they match up with, I think, I think they're going to have to slay the dragon eventually. And they're going to have to see the Yankees eventually if they want to go far in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So as far as this wild card race go, is that last spot, if I'm looking at this right, is that last wild card spot pretty much Kansas City's to lose at this point, with really only Boston that really has a chance at catching up with them. Is that right?
At this point, it's the Twins' spot to lose, I guess you could say. I think right now they're in the third spot, but yep, I think it's between the Twins and Kansas City and those last two two slots in the playoffs. And Boston, you can never count them out, but I consider them to be maybe just a half tier lower than Kansas City and Minnesota.
Okay, so if we just take our best educated guess here, in the AL, it's probably going to be New York, Baltimore, Cleveland, Twins, Houston, or Seattle in the West, and then maybe Kansas City or Boston for that last
Yep.
spot. Is that
Yep,
right?
I don't see Seattle making it. I
Okay.
love their rotation, but I don't think they have it this year. They just fired their manager. Things are kind of going off the rails a little bit. So I think Houston's going to lock that up in the West, and probably Minnesota and Kansas City with the other two.
Got it. Well, either way, man, it's been a crazy season if you're a
Yeah.
Twins fan, because 3 months ago, they had a 59% chance of making the playoffs. Now they got a 89.2% chance. So
Right.
just a wild turnaround and just a heck of a season from a wins-loss standpoint, no matter how you slice it. Give me one guy who could be a X factor in the playoffs for the Minnesota Twins. Outside of the obvious, no Royce Lewis, no Correa, because I think it was Trevor Plouffe said on his podcast a few days ago, Matt Wallner could be their X factor in the playoffs, and I kind of like it. I think it makes a lot of sense.
That makes a ton of sense. If they see a lot of right-handed starting pitching, you're going to see Matt Wallner play a pretty prominent role in that lineup. How about this though? What about David Festa being the guy to move to a bullpen role, a la Louis Varland last year? I think we're all counting on Varland to be one of those guys that moves back to the bullpen like he did last year. He looked really good. Right now, he's basically staying in the rotation or stretched out as a starter as rotation depth in case somebody gets hurt. But in the coming weeks, those theoretical starts are going to count a lot less than the actual tangible innings that he could be, attaining for the Twins in a bullpen role. So see Varland there. But what about David Festa doing the same thing as he kind of approaches his innings limit? I think he's just about to cross over the 100 inning mark on the season. So I think that's what he had around last year. Might just have a few more starts left in the tank. So what if they tried to transition him? He's got two really good secondary offerings aside from that fastball. And if that fastball can go up a tick in shorter outings, like we've seen from Varland, Festa could be another, absolute weapon. And like you said, maybe an X factor in the playoffs.
Yeah, obviously, too. Playoff series, usually 3 games around that length anyways. So maybe you only need those top 3 starters, and then you got a little wiggle room and versatility with those back-end guys. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I love it. Kind of random. I ask this probably 2-3 times every season. What does a realistic trade for Byron Buxton look like? If one were to go down, what's like a realistic ask even in return for a guy like Byron Buxton? Because I got to tell you, I got no idea where you even start. Like, what ballpark or what realm is he still in terms of value, do you think?
I still think he definitely has some value, but it's going to be tough if he can't stay on the field. That's not somebody that other teams necessarily target. It's somebody that they respect as a really good player, but not necessarily somebody that's going to want to give market value to the Twins to get.
Sure.
So I don't think the money plays a huge role in trading him or anything like that. It's just a matter of the uncertainty given his various health issues that he goes through.
Makes a ton of sense to me for sure. Speaking of Buxton, any injury updates? Could we get any of these bigger tier names back in this 9-game homestand? What do you think?
Correa and Buxton are still not quite ready to come back. Rocco described them today as still steadily improving, but you're kind of getting the sense that for the both of them, it's going to be a pain tolerance kind of thing for getting them back in. And as long as they're staying afloat, there's no reason to necessarily rush them back, at least yet. We could get to that point, but Alex Kirilloff started a rehab assignment with the Saints, got a nice scorching little double in his first at bat tonight. I'm not sure if you can count on much from him the rest of the season, but at least it's encouraging to hear that somebody's getting ready to at least be healthy enough to come back.
Yeah, well said there. All right, nerdy stat of the daytime. You got any crazy stat or fun analytic Twins related? Lay it on us. What do you got tonight?
Tonight it's not necessarily a nerdy stat, but it's a nerdy pull of this day in Twins history. And in this day, 55 years ago in 1969, the Twins pulled off a triple steal, which I feel like you cannot even fathom that happening in today's game. You had Cesar Tovar stealing home, Tony Oliva stealing third, and Harmon Killebrew stealing second. Those are three Twins legends doing something legendary. I thought that was pretty fun. And I was just kind of thinking in my head, who would I even want on this lineup to like attempt something like that? You think maybe Willie Castro, maybe Buxton, but you're trying to be, probably gentle with him a little bit. I don't even know who else would go there, but it's fun to think about.
I love it. What year was that? What year did you pull that from?
1969.
Man, somewhere my dad's watching or listening to this episode, and he just perked up in his seat a little bit here in Harmon Killebrew, Tony Oliva, big baseball historian, huge Twins fans. I love it. All right, don't go anywhere. We got to preview game 2. We got to talk some more playoff matchups. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members to date. And for me and my money, it's just by far the easiest. It's the most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. So simple. All you got to do, you pick more or you pick less on 2 or more players' stats, and you watch the winnings roll in. Baseball season, obviously in full swing. So whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, home runs, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code, and this is all lowercase, Locked On MLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Okay, 8 more in a row at home in the backyard at Target Field. Cardinals, obviously, Braves next, then Blue Jays to round it out. Talk to me about this homestand just a little bit more in these 3 matchups. What intrigues you the most about this homestand, I guess, and give me some games within the games or just general notes to keep in the back of our minds.
Sure. I think they're kind of looking forward to facing Toronto, maybe a team that's, starting to check out a little bit.
Yeah.
St. Louis, you could maybe throw in that bin too, but Atlanta's another potential playoff team that's trying to really find their footing at the right time of the season. So I think it's going to be a tough series this time against St. Louis, especially after losing the first game here. Moving on and facing Sonny Gray tomorrow is going to be really interesting. But Toronto will be the soft part, I think, and I think they're looking forward to maybe that caliber of competition.
Anything else going on around the league that we should be keeping tabs on, or what's your favorite non-Twins storyline or division race, or maybe a player to watch, whatever it may be?
Yeah, so I don't know if he's going to be much of a contributor down the stretch necessarily, but I thought it was really interesting that Jason Hayward was released from the Dodgers, and he signed with the Atlanta Braves, or at least it sounds like that's in the works for him to go back where it all started in his career, go back to the Braves, hopefully be that spark. It was said that he was a huge leader in the clubhouse for the Cubs during that 2016 World Series run. And to see him go back to Atlanta would be really fun to see if he can be a contributor for them. Hopefully it doesn't start until after they face the Twins next week.
Always fun talking Twins with you, man. Let's get out of here. Twins lose game 1 to St. Louis, 6-1. Cleveland loses to Texas. That's the good news. Division lead, still 2 games. 8 more in a row at home. Game 2 tomorrow. Pablo Lopez on the mound. First pitch, 6:10 p.m. Huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. Rest assured, we'll be back each and every game right here, breaking it all down. Got to go check out all of Lou's work too on X at SweetLouMN, plus all the work he's always ripping up over at ZoneCoverageMN.com as well. Anything new as of late? Haven't talked to you in about a week or so. Anything new as of late that we can go check out that you've been working on Twins related?
Yeah, at zonecoverage.com. I had something that was released maybe 2 hours ago here, so it's still fresh on the page.
Hot off the press.
Hot off the press, exactly. And it's about the idea of Chris Paddock coming back as a bullpen piece, I think is starting to be pretty unrealistic. And so I talked about why I don't think that fans should necessarily put that much stock in that idea. And I gave a couple of backup ideas that maybe could be better fits at the back end of the bullpen there, including David Festa.
Love it. Awesome. Can't wait to go check that out. Again, that's up over at ZoneCoverageMN.com. Go like this video, subscribe to the channel, please, if you haven't already. Help us get to 8,000 subscribers. That's always much, much appreciated. Sweet Lou Hennessy, Luke Inman on X, at Luke_Spinman. We'll see you next time. But until then, signing out.